Hi guys, I'm Forrester here with another knife review. But first, has it been a while since you took an IQ test? Well, here's one that I know you'll do well with. I have 8 objects on the table and our job is to match them into like pairs. So starting at the top, for instance, with this Maelstrom X7 flashlight, we want to match it with something similar. And of course I notice that we have a flashlight here. It's a Streamlight stylus. So let's move it up to the top and see if we can find a pattern. Okay, so now our job is to say the Maelstrom X7 is to this Streamlight stylus as what is to the Smith & Wesson tactical pen. And you see we do have one other pen here. This one is a freebie advertising New Bern, North Carolina. So let's move it up and see if we are holding true to that pattern. And I think we are. Generally on the left we have more expensive items and more capabilities, you would hope. On the right, cheaper items, lesser capability. If you were going to ask me to borrow a flashlight or a pen, I'd probably give you one from this right-hand column. It's not quite so easy with the watch. This is a Seiko solar watch. This is the Timex Ironman Triathlon. I really enjoy this watch, and I don't know that you can always tell by looking, but this one has a rubber wristband. It's also held together by a rubber band. But let's move it up, and I think that continues that pattern. More expensive on the left-hand side, cheaper on the right. But when we come to the knives, it's not quite so easy. They look very similar. Without knowing more about them, how confident would you be in completing this IQ test? And that's one reason why we do these reviews. The differences in some products are not always obvious. So it helps us to get user feedback from others who have put products to the test. And with a little bit of knowledge, you would know that the Emerson, this is the real Emerson, Gentleman Jim, would go on the left-hand side. That's a $200 knife. And this knife would go on the right because it's a $30 knife. So without further ado, let's get on to reviewing the Kershaw Emerson CQC-6k. Kershaw has done a good job of adding new knives to their stable that appeal to knife enthusiasts. I already own the real thing in the Emerson Gentleman Jim, but I still wanted to buy one of the 8 Kershaw CQC knives. They range from 2 3/4 to 3.5 inch blades with a variety of blade shapes. I settled on this 6K as it seemed like it was the most versatile of the bunch. The single most important thing that I can say about this knife is that it cost under $30. The price will overshadow every other point that I can make. It's a good-looking, heavy-duty knife that definitely shows its bloodlines back to the Emerson tactical folders. This wave feature for fast deployment and the thumb disc work great. Not that I think of this knife as a tactical folder though. To me it's a beater knife. Remember that $30 price tag. It's a knife that I would compare to the Spyderco Tenacious. They're similar in price and materials and in size. But with this Tenacious, I feel free to use it any way that I choose. I've used the Tenacious to cut up carpet in a bedroom that we've remodeled recently, and I wouldn't hesitate to do the same thing with the 6K. Now it differs from the Tenacious in a few regards. It's a frame lock instead of a liner lock. It's a good bit heavier at 5 ounces than the Tenacious, and it can serve the tactical role in a pinch with this fast deployment feature. I can tell you that I've enjoyed carrying it for the past few weeks. The weight is noticeable, but it isn't a showstopper. It's a China-produced knife, and sacrifices are made on materials to reach that $30 price point. The clip point blade is made of 8 CR14 MOV steel. It's 3 1/4 inches long. It has a nice two-tone look with a satin finish on the upper flats, and a stone-washed finish on the grinds. I've used it a good bit and I've had to resharpen it already. I can tell that it doesn't hold an edge long, but it's pretty easy to sharpen. Let me give you a paper cutting test just to demonstrate. You can tell it goes through paper pretty easily. And that's suitable for most of my uses. The knife feels heavier than it is because the weight isn't balanced. That's something you may, if you watched my review of the ZT 561, I commented on, so it's a heavier knife, but it's very well balanced. The balance point of this knife is somewhere back here, and so most of the weight is in that handle, and it makes it feel a little bit heavier to me than it is. The handle frame is solid steel with a layered G10 on the presentation side. The steel isn't skeletonized. I don't know that I can show you that, but that would lighten the load a little bit if they had skeletonized it, but that would have added to the cost. Now the Tenacious is skeletonized, and it was a sub $30 knife also, so it is possible. The G10 is very smooth, noticeably smooth, and it doesn't add anything to the security of the knife in hand. The knife fits well in my hand though with this deep finger choil, and the wave feature acts as a thumb ramp. So for general use, it's very stable in my hand. The pocket clip is very functional. It allows the knife to be carried either right hand as it came from the factory or for left hand carry. It's always going to be tip up though, and if you remember with this wave feature, at least for me, for right-handed, it has to be carried tip up in my right front pocket for that wave to work. The quality of construction is fine. There are absolutely no rough edges or obvious flaws in this knife. Overall, this is a tank of a knife, and I think it's well worth the cost. The image of Rocky Balboa, the street fighter or sparring partner, comes to my mind. 90% of his career, he just took care of business, but he had the tools and the toughness to come through when he got his shot at the title. So it is with the 6K. It's a beater knife, but it can double as a tactical folder in a pinch, and all for $30. Y'all have a good day. Take care.